them old time ways.
The psalmist says in Psalms 90 verse 10, "The days of our years are 80 years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow. For it is soon cut off, and we fly away." And today we want to celebrate you, Dad. You have met 80 and 10, as it said in the King James Version. As we know it today, 70 years, 80 and 10. And we thank God for you. We thank God for your life. We thank God for the precious memories we have as children. And we want to take a few moments just to look at a few. I remember some of my earliest memories of you as a child going to primary school at Esperanza Presbyterian, and the children in infants would be like, "My dad is this and my dad is that," and I'd say, "My dad is a policeman and he have a gun," you know. And we would celebrate what our dads did and could do, and who's strong and who could fight and who have gun, and so we took pride in our fathers. And there's a verse that says in Proverbs 17 verse 6, "Children's children are a crown to the aged, and parents are the pride of their children." And it's true. Sometimes we take it for granted, the pride we have in our parents and the fact that we look to them for affirmation, for guidance, for wisdom. And these are things I thank God for that I was able to receive from my dad. I remember when I did CXC and had the opportunity to go to Republic Bank to work as an intern, that Daddy encouraged me to go to do A-levels. I had gotten all my subjects, and I was keen to get to work because of the financial situation. Mom had to get a job while I was doing CXC, or while I was at Form 4. Mom got a job to help with the financial situation, and it was in my mind to ease the burden of the family, to go to get a job, and I had an opportunity. I was recommended to work at Republic Bank. And I remember my dad telling me, "Don't stop your studies now to go and work. When you start to work, you wouldn't want to study anymore. Keep on studying and work after." And by that time, I had a relationship with the Lord, and I submitted. And it's history now. I did A-levels and got my subjects. I was able to go to university. I was able to get through, graduate. And after graduating and going into full-time ministry, afterwards I got into the public service. And that's a testimony as well. I was recommended to work for a summer internship with the Ministry of Planning, and they liked our work so much that they encouraged us to apply to work. So they gave us documents to fill out. We filled it out and forgot about it. And years later, I think 2 years afterwards, the documents got processed and I was offered an opportunity to work for the government. And this was while I was in full-time ministry with Pastor Beard. And I had my student loan to repay. Long story short, I started working with the Ministry of Science and got promoted to the Ministry of Finance. And whilst there, I had a scholarship opportunity. And I told my dad about it, and he told me, "Go for it." On my own, I thought I wouldn't get through, but in honoring my parents and in listening to my dad, I took heed to his advice. And it's history. I got the scholarship, went to England, and was able to do well. And if you had told me years ago that I would have been studying in London and living 15 minutes away from Buckingham Palace, I'd have laughed. But now we could look back and I could say, if you honor your parents, you will be blessed. Another testimony I can share looking back at Dad is the wise counsel he provides. He has wisdom and experience. He doesn't show it off. But when it comes to matters of church, matters of building, the church building, matters of relationship, He's there to give advice, and I can happily say that submitting to his advice helped me to find my wife today, Leanne. You know, I had some relationship decisions to make years ago, and he basically guided me to make a difficult decision. And though it was tough, I realized the wisdom of what he said, because he saw that sometimes you try to make things work in youth. As a youth, you may see things one way emotionally and not count all the other issues and factors. And long story short, I submitted to his advice, and I could look back now and say, thank you, Jesus, for sending an earthly father to provide advice and guidance. So, truly, children's children are the crown to the age, and parents are the pride of their children. And I'll pass on now to Leanne, who will also share some fun memories she has of Mr. Charles on this special day.
My fondest memories of Mr. Nolan Charles. Well, I was told it had to be short, and as a result, there are several things I can say. But in the interest of time, I will just highlight 3 points that are very fond and very dear to me. Mr. Nolan Charles, whom I affectionately call Dad, is truly one of a gem. And as a child growing up, and even in my adult years, it is often said to never ever live at your in-laws. And I proved that to be a myth. And in Mr. Charles's case, not to be true. Because he is truly a pleasant man, a kind person, and he treated me as one of his own biological children. If you did not know that I was an in-law, no one from the outside looking in would ever know that he was not my biological father. And for that, I sincerely thank you. Living at the Charles was indeed a pleasure. He always made sure I was comfortable. He always made sure if there was anything I needed, he would always tell me, don't hesitate to ask. And I can see he definitely had my interests and my well-being at heart. I enjoy going to the garden with Dad. I remember one time we were reaping pumpkins, and I told him the night before I was going to go with him to the garden the next day. I'm not sure if he probably didn't remember or if he probably didn't think I was serious. So I remember I got up early and got dressed for the garden. And when I heard his footsteps coming down the stairs, I met him by the door. And I said, "You're ready?" And he looked at me shocked. And he said, "Oh, you going to the garden?" I said, "But remember I told you that I was going to the garden with you." And then he inquired, "Did you have breakfast?" You know, an empty bag can't stand, you know. And we laughed at it. And then he inquired if I had the correct gear for the garden. I wore pants and a shirt, but he wanted about the shoes, if I had soft wear, if I had the boots. Long story short, I accompanied him to the garden, and it was wonderful. I think that day we made about 3 trips when we reaped pumpkins. And I was able to meet his friends, whom he introduced me to. And even in the garden, he was still making sure I was comfortable. And I remember at one point in time, he told me, "Okay, Lee, you take a rest. You go in the chair and sit down. I get finished." I said, "No, that is okay. I can go." So he really didn't want to, I guess he didn't want it to be that he pushed me that hard. But it really wasn't any pushing. It was a pleasure and it was an honor to assist him in the garden. And how can I not mention those lovely pawns? Oh, that you truly have the recipe and the method for making such wonderful pawns. Pawns that will make you eat your fingers. Pawn that will make you fly from all over the world just to get a slice. And finally, it really touched my heart when Dad accompanied my mom and I to the health center with Joshua. He didn't only accompany us, but he also arranged everything. I remember Andre had asked him to assist us in that area. And he arranged everything. He told me where to go, who to ask for. And it was a very stress-free process. And I remember I got a date for Joshua's immunization, a date of June 20th. And when I told him, he said, "Can you manage on your own on that day?" I said, "Yes, I should be able to." He said, "Well, anyhow, I will be around. And if you need any help, you just call." So, Dad, it's truly an honor to be here to celebrate your 70 years. You do look well for 70 years. A 70-year-old, you normally see someone with a stick, back bent over, could hardly walk, could hardly see. But none of the above, I can say, is your case today. And we know it's truly the hand of God that is holding you up. So continue celebrating your 70th birthday. I know God's hand is upon you. You've been blessed tremendously. And it is my prayer that your latter years will indeed be greater than your former years. Happy birthday, Dad.
So, you've heard from me, you've heard from Leanne, and we're going to hear from Mom next, Mrs. Walcott. So, hold on, buckle up, get you in for a ride.
Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. I give God thanks for allowing Brother Charles to reach the ripe age of 70. He is in good health and working for the Lord. My first encounter with him was in 2013, when Leanne and I made a trip to Trinidad, a very short one. I found him to be warm, loving, and a good conversationist. He is an advocate for love, and he says he practices love and expects his children to follow his example. My second encounter with him was at Leanne and Andre's wedding. At the wedding, he called his sons together and they danced on stage. You should see Brother Charles flexing his ankles and knees in a rhythmic fashion, much to my delight and others. You will see this video when it is shown. He was a star among his sons. I am saying thanks to him for accepting Leanne into his family with open arms and assisting her in many ways. Leanne has mentioned many of these things in her speech. His latest assistance was on the 28th of May, 2018, when the car refused to start. When he got the call, he had just returned home from his garden, and he came to our assistance right away without eating his lunch, although his wife had it heating in the microwave. We both thanked him, and he said that is what family is for. Thanks also to Dexter for his assistance. May God's blessing be on you and your family. On behalf of my family, I wish to extend happy birthday greetings. Congratulations.
Want a physician, he will give you a prescription and tell you the dosage might be fed like a mustard seed mixed with praises. Just believe the master, no deal in a counterfeit disaster, no deal in a counterfeit disaster. Turn away from Obia man, Jesus is the only plan. Boy, who is ever. Turn away from Obia man.